Alright, it is time for the Ridiculon video. This one's not going to be quite as long as the Danny Baranowski video, but I just kind of want to go over generally what Ridiculon exactly is and why Edmund really rolled with him instead of trying, like, after the squabble with Danny Baranowski, trying to find someone else who was, I don't know, I guess somewhere in that genre, I would say. But I think the best introduction for Ridiculon here is this video they made. When was it made? 2013. 2013. So that's a blast from the past. This is just a little after eugenics was initially revealed on the Team Meat website. So this is the original site here. Hang on, I'll go to one of the older pages here. So eugenics was first teased in October 20th, 2012. And I don't think Ridiculon was even really revealed or known until, let's see here, I guess until about December 8th, 2012, when people found out that, Ridiculon and Edmund were teaming, or what even Ridiculon even was, because Ridiculon's first project was this, eugenics, and well, we can talk about that in a little bit, but I mean, just to give an introduction to what Ridiculon actually is, I mean, I'll go play a video in a bit that kind of, they explain in their own words, but Ridiculon's a duo, Matthias Bossi and John Evans. Matthias Bossi does the narration, of course. And key here is that Matthias Bossi comes from a band called Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, which is one of Edmund's favorite bands. And apparently he's been a long-time associate of Matthias and his band, and I guess they played locally in Santa Cruz, California, where Edmund is stationed. And but we can talk about. I mean, technically, I don't know when to. I guess I can address this now. This is not the first collaboration between. Of course, I mean you have Isaac as well for Matthias, but Edmund actually worked with Ridiculon, I would say, starting with Triachnid. You know why? Because let's look at the names here. This is the credits for Triachnid. Triachnid is Edmund's, I don't know, what's it, 2005, 2006 game. And here is, the music was taken from the album The Book of Silk by a band called Tin Hat Trio. And who's this up top, on top billing? Carla Kilstead. Carla Kilstead is the wife of Matthias Bossi, and she is a part of the band Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, and there the two are, Matthias Bossi and Carla Kilstead. And Matthias does not have a Wikipedia page yet, unfortunately. He should have a Wikipedia page with how legendary he is. But so that's a little blurb for you, just a little fun fact. But honestly, this video really exists to really tell that, because, and just say that Edmund has been working with these people and has known them for a very long time. It only really took until eugenics for them to really collaborate. And I guess after the, I mean, well, they didn't split yet by the time of eugenics, but or when it was initially announced. But there was that. So I'm gonna play this video here, just a little bit at least.
You're not gonna believe this. The name of the project is Eugenics. My friend Edmund McMillan from Santa Cruz, California, a longtime fan of my old band, Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, an acquaintance who turns out is an evil genius of art and video game creation. A couple years ago, actually, one of the first
Just to say, this is Matthias Bossi on the right and John Evans on the left.
John and I ever worked together on was this like little snippet he wanted me to do some voices for his previous game, The Binding of Isaac. He and his partner Tommy just essentially brainstormed this game in a weekend, I guess, and said, hey, we're going to do this thing called Eugenics. It's about cats. We're not sure what about cats, and you guys want to write some music for it. It needs a lot of music. Yeah, a lot of music.
I think that's a good enough summary, but I mean, essentially, they finally met with Eugenics and decided to collaborate on it. And well, as I said in the previous video, that Danny Baranowski did actually do some test tracks for the original Eugenics at first, because I assume Edmund was directly working with him. But then that went sour, and then as I explained in the last video, I mean, eventually it came to Ridiculon. So this is really interesting to watch, because this is back in 2013 when Eugenics was still being initially teased by Team Meat, and it's interesting to know that these songs that were composed all the way back in late 2012, early 2013 are finally actually coming out and being part of a video game. So that's kind of the little gist of Ridiculon. Honestly, there's not much more to it. It's just that Edmund's been a longtime fan of theirs, and then just around the time Eugenics decided to finally collaborate. So if you're wondering, hey, why did Edmund choose this random weird kind of alt rock band to do the music for Eugenics? Well, he's been always been a big fan, and you just didn't really know that because I mean Edmund's always been into kind of eccentric, kind of alt rock. I mean certainly like stuff like Corn, Smashing Pumpkins, Deftones, all that stuff. These are inspirations I'll cover later in a probably like an Edmund McMillan inspirations video. So comment if you want that, but we'll go over that later. So this is Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. I'll also play probably one of Edmund's favorite songs as well from the band. This is A Hymn to the Morning Star.
Open your heart to the Lord of light. Open your heart and mind and let him in. He holds the key.
It's more like that, but you can obviously tell who's doing the narration, and that is, of course, is Matthias. And I think the Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, they kind of alternated between a lot of their band members and who's singing and who's doing what. But this is kind of, I've kind of looked at the Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum's back catalog, and I think this is probably Matthias Savasi's most distinguished song from the bunch. And Edmund is probably a big fan of this song. I think on a blog post back in A Binding of Isaac, when that had a Tumblr, it was like linked somewhere secretly. And so yeah, I mean, this is clearly something that deeply inspires him and deeply inspired him for the soundtrack of Rebirth. I mean, just this kind of sound. You can definitely tell by the iconography, you know, the kind of subtle religious Christian overtones, and the kind of shrill, loud, or high-pitched voices in the background. You can definitely tell how that inspired Rebirth soundtrack. I'm not sure if it was for theremin in here. I mean, that's also probably inspired it as well. So this is a great music video. I love this, but I should say I'm not like I'm not really like huge on the whole genre of music that Edmund likes. I mean, it definitely inspires him. He's definitely of that generation where like music and like bands and whatnot were hugely inspirational to him. I mean, growing up in the '90s with music, it's definitely different to like growing up in the 2010s. Or for me, my favorite music is freaking Binding of Isaac. So I mean, I get the slush that came from the original stuff that but it's still quite interesting. I mean, what I really appreciate about Edmund is that he's distinctly human. Like he has very eccentric, weird tastes. He loves outsider artists. He loves weird stuff, weird, kind of vaguely Christian, vaguely disturbing, just kind of striking alt stuff. I mean, that's always who he's been. He's always been an outsider artist, and his choice of Ridiculon is essentially reflecting that. He just chooses this weird kind of semi-local indie band to do his music, and this is probably why he really instead of once Danny Baranowski was out of the picture and he needed someone to do music for Isaac, it's like, is he gonna find some guy on Newgrounds again who can kind of do the same thing of like a synth upbeat tune, or like his equivalent of Michael Jackson? And I think his choice was pretty reasonable in that case. I mean, Ridiculon, Matthias, John, they clearly have a good relationship with him. They clearly have a good kind of working relationship with him, and that's why I think he's kind of rolled with them ever since. And they've been, I mean, as said, they're very low drama, and I assume they're not too expensive to work with. And they're also, as seen in this video here, they do studio recordings like this. So, like, you get fully produced studio recordings with real instruments for music. And I think Edmund is just a huge fan of that, and that's why he kind of rolled with that for Eugenics. So that's kind of the whole spiel on Ridiculon. I mean, of course, it's going to take until 2026 until the music actually is released in a video game you can play. Because it's kind of weird that they were introduced to this game that was canceled by Tommy like a year ago, or a year after it was initially revealed, because Tommy was just not into Eugenics at all. But this whole conversation could probably be saved for a potential Eugenics video, which I definitely might do just before it releases, because in Eugenics, this seems to be Edmund's best game. Sorry, it really does. It seems to be his most deeply personal and inspired work. But I'll go over my relationship with Ridiculon now. So in the year, this was the first reveal of Isaac having Ridiculon music, and this is like after I showed this off in the last video that Rebirth was originally slated to have Danny Baranowski do the music, but of course things fell through, and then just probably went to the next best thing, of course. And that's like Ridiculon seems like they can turn out a lot of music, and good music too. I mean, we could talk about the quality in a bit, but the Terror Sonata, I mean, I think it's a pretty classic basement theme. Of course, I mean, people are going to debate Sacrificial to Terra Sonata, all these things, but I've heard. I mean, it captures the vibe because Edmund ultimately is the guy who knows what's best for Isaac, and he knows. And he said, "Hey, Ridiculon, they know what Isaac is because I'm a fan of theirs, and this kind of tone, this kind of semi-religious tone, as you saw in Hymn to the Morning Star, that's the kind of music I want for my game." So I can get it. I can get it. But at this time, this was like 2013, 2014. I was 11 years old. I was playing, I don't know, Smash Brawl or something. I wasn't really plugged into the whole development side of you know, Edmund's games and Super Meat Boy. I was just a little too young. I was just a little kind of out of the loop, you know. So I was probably busy playing TF2, which is funny because Triachnid 2, as I was just talking about, Triachnid, the game that, you know, originally had some talent that Carla Kilstead, you know, who's also kind of a part of Ridiculon, is on. That Triachnid 2 was canceled because Florian Himzel, the programmer, was too busy playing Team Fortress 2. I just found that out. That was a little blurb in the basement collection. So there's a little fun fact for you as well. I mean, there's lots of fun facts, so lots of trivia. That's all what we're about here. So I'm a kid, you know, I'm not really following stuff, and, you know, I played Rebirth come 2014, and the music's different, because the first version I played was, I believe, Wrath of the Lamb. I played Wrath of the Lamb after watching Northern Lion and play that and play Isaac. It's like, I gotta get Wrath of the Lamb, and that's was my first exposure to Isaac. So I put about, you know, 200, 300 hours into Wrath of the Lamb, and it's like, I switch over to Rebirth. The thing is, I'm not sure if Rebirth was like, I played Rebirth on release. I feel like I really did, or like I was really plugged into that. But apparently on Steam, I didn't play it until Afterbirth, so I don't know. I guess I just have a habit of skipping the original version, just waiting for the DLC to come back. But I was still kind of plugged into the hype cycle. I definitely knew what was going on for Rebirth, a little bit at least, like closer to release. Like I felt like I distinctly remember like playing Rebirth originally on, maybe I pirated it or something, but whatever. That's kind of my personal account. So let's actually talk about Ridiculon's music here. So. Eugenics. Unfortunately, this stuff is not coming out. I mean, you can listen to it now, of course, as a preview, but did not come out until, until Eugenics is officially releasing on February 10th, 2026. Wishlist, this is Edmund says. But Rebirth OST. So I want to talk about base Rebirth OST, and this kind of gets a lot of flack. Hey, I know this person, but I mean, if you're coming off Danny Baranowski and his amazing lineage of tunes. This is something very different. It's not that kind of synthy poppy kind of orchestra. I mean, it does have orchestra in it. Like it does have I believe what Ridiculon uses is heavyosity. That's their I don't know what you call it, the music source that they use, the samples they use. That's what it's called, and it's definitely a very different sound. But it kind of does fit into the same genre of dark fantasy again, and then just kind of gave them the same kind of template that you know, he gave to Danny Baranowski. It's a dark fantasy game. I want like dark fantasy orchestral track. I want it to be groovy and atmospheric, and you know, and of course, you know, two different artists, two different groups, anyways, or one Danny Baranowski and one Ridiculon, and they just did a different thing. And as Edmund said, you know, he just lets artists do what they want, and he lets them keep the rights to their music and just look at it and see what inspires them about it, and that's what he thinks. That's something that's carried all over into Eugenics. If you look at the new version of Eugenics, has all the different art by different artists like Sony Shock and the Four Souls artists. It's all different stuff. But I'll go over a little bit of what I like about Rebirth and what I don't really like. I mean, this is nice. This is nice. The Terra Sonata, as I said, it's good. I mean, Secret Room, it's good. You get these very atmospheric tracks like this, but this is what Edmund wanted, as you saw in that Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum video. It's like, he likes that. He likes the atmospheric, he likes the weird, he likes that kind of stuff. So, but my problem is stuff like, what's it? This is music? The sucking noises are music? I mean, I get it. I get what Edmund likes, but, you know, this is something that people were very kind of opposed to. They did not really, I mean, it's different, and I mean, it's like, what can you really do? Like, you need music for your new game, and, you know, this is what they came up with. And it's not to say that, you know, Rebirth's OST is bad. I actually do quite like some of the songs in here. Like, what do I really like? I like Infanticide a lot. Where's the guitar solo in this? This is one of my favorites. It's very heavy, very intense. I mean, it's no. I mean, My Innermost Apocalypse and there's two different songs, but they both have their appeal. And I really do quite like when Ridiculon goes guitars blazing. I mean, it's mostly what they do, but you know, this is one of my favorites on the original OST. Of course, Ascension is kind of This is awesome too. This is fucking awesome. Okay, well, one gripe I have with these OSTs is that this is a 3-minute 52-second song. This plays when you're fighting Triple Cube, the Blue Baby, and that's a fight that takes 10 seconds. This is a problem exclusive to a lot of Isaac soundtracks that, they're more than a minute for a boss fight. They can often take 10 to 20 seconds. That's more a problem of the game than the actual soundtrack. I mean, it's a good song, but you're not going to hear the most of it in game, unfortunately. Yeah, there's some standouts. Honestly, Ascension... actually, Sketches of Pain is fucking awesome. Oh, yeah. It's intense with the guitar solo. This is also the introduction of layered music, which I think Danny Baranowski's music could be awesome with layers, but Ridiculon kind of pioneered the concept, and yeah, it's awesome. I think layered music could go even further, but that perhaps is a subject for another day. But so yeah, they release Isaac Rebirth. It's met to middling reviews. I quite like it. It's nostalgic for me at this point because early Rebirth is nostalgic for me. You also had Fingered. I'll talk about other Edmund games in another video, but this is one that they're letting their kind of creative muscle go here. Kind of jazzy music. They're kind of a masters of many genres. That's kind of what Sleepy Time Riddle Museum did. They just went balls to the wall with different kind of genres and whatnot. And all Edmund wanted is just kind of keep that spirit going. And so, you also have Afterbirth OST. Just a little more here, I think it's pretty awesome. Nativitate? I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm not a big Latin guy, even though I took Latin in school. Didn't carry over to real life. Some good songs in here. I think I really liked Chorus Mortis here. The Ultra Breed theme. Kind of brings in more the orchestral, which I really like about Isaac, is the strings. I really love that about Danny Baranowski's soundtrack, the strings, and I feel like that's really kind of the sound of Isaac, is like the strings and the synths, and Ridiculon brings that here too, in their own style. That's definitely one of my favorites from Rebirth as well. But oh, Moratoros, the Hush fight as well. This is awesome. This is great too. So yeah, that's Afterbirth, and then of course they do these little side things as well. These like little rejects and B-sides and all these things. These are kind of cute too. Afterbirth Plus, of course. Say what you want about Delirium, the boss fight, but the music is pretty good. Kind of captures that very chaotic feeling of your last dying breath. It's very interesting to see what they did with the kind of concepts that are given in the game. But yeah, not too much there. They love doing these little kind of side albums where they remix stuff, and of course you have Legend of Bumbo too. I actually did play Legend of Bumbo a few months ago, and it's not a perfect game, but it definitely has its own appeal. It's definitely a nice little fun game if you can get past some of the lack of polish in some cases. But that wasn't really out of Edmund's control. This is really related to Ridiculon, anyways. But what's the song I really liked here? Yeah, some of these boss fights. Forlorn Hollow, I really like this. Those rock noises in the background. I was playing the game, I was like, what the hell is that? Like, I thought it was part of the game, but no, it wasn't. So even people here are complaining about Danny Baranowski. It's like, this is one thing with Ridiculon. It's like, they're constantly in Danny Baranowski's shadow, and it's like, they really shouldn't be compared, because all Ridiculon is doing is just, doing their best and doing what they can. And I think what they do is great, but of course, because Danny Baranowski came first, even though he's been long gone from working with Edmund since 2012, it's not happening anymore, basically. But Bumbo soundtrack, Halls of Belial. Okay, one thing I would like to point out about Ridiculon's music, you will if you listen to them often, you will notice this. And now that I pointed out, it's going to be bad. A lot of their songs start with that reverse cymbals. Like, listen to this. Oh shit, I forgot to talk about that. The Super Meat Boy 5th anniversary soundtrack here. I think the soundtrack is pretty good. Like people listen to something like the Forest themes, for example. I was like, what the hell? There's banjos and my Super Meat Boy. Where's the synths? It's like they're just doing something different. They're just like, what can they do? They're taking a different direction. They're taking Meat Boy and they're just doing their own thing, and that's great. Instead of one great soundtrack, you get two great soundtracks. One song I really like in this is Dark Meat. Insane banjo usage. How many games have banjo in their soundtrack? Can you say that? People hate this song. I've seen this on YouTube. They hate that, like, oh, what the hell? It's sort of a banjo. Where's the? I mean, I know it's hard to top Battle of Little Slugger, but like this is pretty neat too. Once it gets to the guitars. But okay, I want to point this out. It's like right here with these later songs. The reverse cymbals at the beginning. Watch. Wait, not that one. Nope. Right there. Right there. you notice that. You notice that reverse symbol. I get it. It's like kind of dramatic and instrumental. But it's this kind of thing that Ridiculon kind of relies on a lot. Again, I like the eccentricities in artists. You know, I like seeing what kind of habits you see throughout their work, and that's something that you can definitely point out with Ridiculon. But that's a Super Meat Boy 5th anniversary soundtrack. I'm not talking about Scattle and Laura Shigehara's contributions. I guess I can a little bit, but this is a Ridiculon video. But you know, Scattle's hospital themes are alright. I mean, I still like Beat Us Blues more. And Laura Shigehara, like, this is gonna be kind of controversial, but I think Laura Shigehara is like a good musician, not like fantastic. Like Plants vs Zombies, iconic soundtrack, but it's not like blowing my socks off. It's like pretty good, and it's like. The Super Meat Boy songs she did, they're like pretty good. If you want to hear her best work, I would say go look up the C418 album, One. She collabs on one of those songs where she does the vocals, and that's where she's great. I think her vocals are amazing. She also did her Aether soundtrack as well, and that was pretty good. She also kind of adds her kind of vocal flair as well. Endless Night, I think this is where Ridiculon really came to stride. So, you know, Rebirth comes out. People are like, what the hell is this music? It's so fucking weird. It's so fucking bad. Okay, and then Ridiculons are like, all right, we're just going to take some classic music. I mean, this is one of Edmund's instructions for the game, you know, is just, like, make some classic music and, like, you know, do your own spin on it, make your own crazy rock spin. Because at the end of the world, all that's left is classical music. And, you know, what they did is awesome. This is fucking awesome. If you want something more ambient here, instead of, like, guitars, this is awesome. But this is something that is a better experience than actually playing it as an eye. The actual experience playing the game, I'd say. And the Hall of the Mountain King, of course, you know, classic retro. I say retro as in is retro. You know, early the 20th century music or late 19th. Like, I mean, I guess if you view it that way. The retro music is also interesting because Ridiculon's known for their live music, and it's like doing retro stuff is like, you know, actually like doing like 8-bit stuff. You kind of hear how they do it. You know, it's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. They did a bit of that on the Super Meat Boy 5th anniversary soundtrack as well. Oops. All right, but eventually, okay, this is something weird. So Edmund splits with Tommy on Team Meat sometime early 2017. But of course, with them doing the 5th anniversary soundtrack from this is when Edmund was still involved with Team Meat and Tommy Ravenez and Super Meat Boy. And now they do it without Edmund. And you can definitely tell, like, I mean, maybe not definitely, but, you know, it's still... I mean, it's good music. It's good music. This is, like, funny, good music, you know. But, you know, I really don't want to talk about Super Meat Boy forever. I really don't care. You know, I have very harsh things to say about Tommy Ravenez and what he did with Meat Boy ultimately, but... I mean, for one, this thing right here, but, you know, that's a topic for another day. Anyways... We come to Repentance, and I think this is where Ridiculon is officially redeemed, because Ridiculon, they do something like this, right here. It's groovy, it's nice, it's good, it strings, I'm a fan. And yeah, so this is where people really started to grow into liking Ridiculon, and this is where they're after the end of the night, they get comfortable doing, quote, actual music, end quote, and so, you know, I feel like they really got into the groove, and this is where people say that, you know, Ridiculon really improved here. I really like some of these Repentance songs. I actually might like some of these more than their anti-birth equivalents, but that's a whole other conversation to have. Carrying Corpse, I really like this. It's a very moody, kind of spooky, eerie tune. I do quite like this one more than the Memento Mori from Anti-Birth. We're going to talk about Anti-Birth later, but what else here? I really like Dross. That's a really good one. Flourish at the end. That's good too. Living the Light, of course. I mean, of course, people really like Dogma. Living the Light. Oh, I forget the lyrics. It's been so long since I listened to it, but you know. With the preachers going on, I mean, this is definitely, you could tell that, I mean, Edmund just let them go loose with that one, and, you know, it's striking, certainly, but, you know, it's just, I mean, behind it, I mean, besides the obvious concept of the preachers and whatnot, and the static and all that, you know, I think people mostly like it for its concept rather than the actual execution, but you didn't hear from me, One of my favorites from Repentance's soundtrack was actually Revelations 13:1. I'm like, holy shit. This is my favorite. I actually like the first part of this, the famine part, more than... I actually like that more than than the rest of the... but that's just me. That's my personal taste. Also, one thing. Walls of Denial, Mausoleum. You know what the anti-birth equivalent is called? Machine in the Walls. You know, Bumbo has a level quite similar to the Mausoleum as well. You know what the song for that is called? Halls of Belial. It's kind of interesting. A lot of Isaac fan soundtracks also keep that kind of motif with the walls and the Mausoleum song for some reason. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, they were redeemed with Repentance. And of course, after Repentance comes Eugenics. After a long wait, and they have been fucking cooking with this one. I mean, this is them... It's great to finally see some of these songs finally coming out and, you know, release when they should have done, you know, 10 years ago. But Eugenics really couldn't have been as good as it was, as it's going to be, I should say. So, well, I really like, oh my god, shut up. I'll give my money later, okay? Okay? Lonesome Road here. Jump Bucket Kitty.
Where's that smell coming from? Where's that smell?
I had that stuck in my head for like a week once I heard it in a Tyler Glale's stream of Eugenics. But yeah, that's what kind of my view on Ridiculon. I kind of gave a bigger overview of their music rather than Danny Baranowski. But they've done a lot more stuff for Edmund in comparison to Danny Baranowski. He only did like a few songs for Tiny Little Games where Ridiculon's doing whole soundtracks. And you know, I just thought I'd get more of my take on that. But, you know, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They are pretty good, and I quite enjoy their work. And, you know, ultimately it comes down, with the whole Danny Baranowski Ridiculon thing, it comes down to just, you know, artists. What do artists want versus what the people want? The people want what they're familiar with. The people want Danny Baranowski because that's the first thing they heard, and that's the first thing they're familiar with. But to an artist, it's a whole different perspective. It's a whole different perspective. And they're viewing it like, you know, what do I like? What do I want to put in? What can I put in? Versus with people, you know, first impressions are everything. And, you know, Danny Baranowski made a hell of a good first impression, but I mean, Ridiculon has their own niche, and, you know, I love their work dearly, and I'm very excited to see what they're outputting from Eugenics, and, you know, the kind of jazzy, kind of, I don't know really know what the genre is called. Actually, there's something funny with Ridiculon's page here. They say, what's it? The tags on music: distinguished, insane, manic, quirky soundtrack, Orleans, because they're in Orleans, Massachusetts. But what else do I have to say about Ridiculon? I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, the thing with Ridiculon is, you know, a lot of people are like, it's bad, it sucks. This is again, I'm bringing up the 4chan here again. You know, lots of people ranting about Ridiculon. Oh, they suck. It's not Danny Baranowski. It's different. But one more thing about Ridiculon: they do more music besides Edmund Mill and stuff. They collaborate with Nicholas and do a lot of music for their games as well. And this is their Cave Story soundtrack. Now, Cave Story, Nicholas, it's an interesting thing, but you both had Danny Baranowski working on Cave Story because he did remixes for like the WiiWare version of the game, the 3DS version of Cave Story. I actually had that at one point. But Ridiculon did it too. And what Ridiculon is they added guitars and their funny little synth to it, and that's what they did. And well, I mean, that's kind of the Ridiculon video. They are. I've told you that their origins. I've told you my opinions about their music. You know, other people's opinions about their music. I don't really have much to say about them in comparison to Danny Baranowski because there's not a lot of drama about them. As soon as they started working with Edmund, it was just pretty much that's it for them. Oh yeah, they also did where is it? I have it here. They also did Ouroboros, the original N is Nigh prototype. I actually quite like some of the. This is really funny about Ouroboros. This sounds like Edmund wanted them to do Danny Baranowski music. Like, listen to this. Listen to that. We have Danny Baranowski at home. Danny Baranowski. But I mean, you can definitely tell it's like Edmund. I feel like Edmund wants that sound. Like he wants that kind of like techie, chiptune-y, kind of like atmospheric kind of sound, and you know, this is what Ridiculon's attempt at that is. You have kind of that quick snare drum, the synths, of course. The snare is especially featured in a lot of Isaac music, but that especially breaks out in the guitar. This one, of course, it's very very interesting what they did with Ouroboros. I mean, not that I want like Ouroboros to come out. Apparently Edmund and Tyler are very unhappy about Ouroboros because it gave people motion sickness. But I think it looked like a very interesting little game, and the music certainly seems like I definitely like to hear that kind of sound again in the Edmund game. And I should say at this point, like I guess I'd be talking about kind of like the future of Edmund Macmillan music. Like, what is? I assume it's just going to be Ridiculon pretty much always from now on. Like, Edmund hasn't collaborated with another musician since I guess 2015 with Scattle and Laura Shigihara. But I mean, it could happen again. Apparently, he might want to do Aether 2 in the future, and apparently he wants Laura Shigihara to do the music for that. But I mean, maybe Ridiculon could do it too. I mean, they certainly are very versatile. So it's very interesting to see what where that might go ultimately. But ultimately, I'm still very much looking forward to what Ridiculon's outputting. They're doing a great job. They also have these funny shorts on their channel as well. I mean, I could talk about those, but those are better seen than talked about. But that's honestly all I have to really say. I mean, they're just rocking and rolling. That's what Ridiculon does. But that's part 2 of my Isaac music series. It's talking about that. You probably didn't watch all this me talking about the music, but maybe you sympathize with some of my opinions. So in the comments below, tell me what you think about Ridiculon's music, how much it sucks, and how much you want Danny Baranowski back. Well, that's up to you. Maybe you do really like them. I mean, you can write your own feature-length novel. That's not the term. You can just write your own novel about how much you like Ridiculon, but or how much you hate them. And I will take either. Any comments are good, but that's my spiel. That's my spiel about Ridiculon. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I will be seeing you in the next video where we're going to be talking about my favorite Isaac mod.